Hello, the subject is marketing management. The topic is pricing policy. A pricing policy is a standing answer to a recurring question. On what base does the companies arrive that this way the pricing has to be done? Should the products or services be priced high or low or medium? It should be based on some ideology or some ideas. And if the companies have queries and questions relating to this kind of a doubt during pricing, then it is pricing policy which aids them. Then what does pricing policy mean? It is a systematic approach to pricing. It requires the decision that an individual pricing situation be generalized and codified into a policy coverage of all the principal pricing problems. Policies can and should be tailored to various competitive situations. A policy approach which is becoming normal for sales activities is comparatively rare in pricing. Most well-managed manufacturing enterprises have a clear-cut advertising policy, product customer policy, and distribution channel policy. But pricing decisions remain a patchwork of ad hoc decisions. In many otherwise well-managed firms, pricing policy has been dealt with on a crisis basis. That is, whenever they have problems or trouble, only the pricing policy is thought after during such situations. This kind of price management by catastrophe discourages the kind of systematic analysis needed for clear-cut pricing policies. The pricing policy clearly says that it has to have taken into account all the situations and generalized into a pricing policy with a particular code. The objectives of pricing are as follows, and no pricing policy will work without objectives. The first objective of pricing policy is price profit satisfaction. There has to be a match between the prices and the objective with what the price is set. The firms are interested in keeping their prices stable within a certain period of time, irrespective of changes in demand and costs, so that they may get the expected profit. Pricing policy should consist of this objective, which says that the price should be of such level that the product and the cost incurred and the profit that is expected out of that sale should be satisfied. Thus, price profit satisfaction is the first objective of pricing policy. The second objective of pricing policy is sales maximization and growth. The firm has to set a price of such sort that automatically the price should attract more number of consumers, and there has to be increase in the sale, and that sale has to increase or grow the profits of the firm. A firm has to set a price which assures maximum sale of the product. Firms set a price which would enhance the sale of the entire product line. It is only then it can achieve growth. So the pricing policy should keep an eye and in mind that sales maximization and growth are to be achieved as a prime objective. The third objective of pricing policy is making money. The first and foremost criterion for the existence of business and the establishment of business is to make money. And this stretches itself into the objectives of pricing policy as well. All the firms, though they have the objective to make money, they do not end up here, all because of many reasons. Some firms want to use their special position in the industry by selling products at a premium and making quick profit as much as possible. But some companies do not have this advantage. In such cases, they end up losing money. But if a company and if the marketing department is in existence, it should have pricing policy with an objective to, to make money. The fourth objective of pricing policy is preventing competition. Competition is good for the economy, but it is bad for the company's existence. Good competition is good, whereas bad competition is really bad for the survival of the business concern. Unrestricted competition and lack of planning can result in wasteful duplication of resources. The price system in a competitive economy might not reflect society's real needs. By adopting a suitable price policy, the firm can restrict the entry of rivals in a better manner. The next objective of pricing policy is market share. Every firm that is running its business in the market wants to have larger share in the market. The firm wants to secure a large share in the market by following a suitable price policy. It wants to acquire a dominating leadership position in the market. Many managers believe that revenue maximization will lead to long-run profit maximization and market share growth. The next objective of pricing policy is, of course, survival. In these days of severe competition and business uncertainties, the firm must set a price which would safeguard the welfare of the firm. A firm is always in its survival stage. For the sake of its continued existence, it must tolerate all kinds of obstacles and challenges from the rivals, and it has to have such a pricing to beat the competitors and take life and survive on. The next objective of pricing policy is market penetration. If a company is new and if it wants to expand in the market, and if it wants to grow in the market, and if it wants to sell more number of its goods, if it wants to maximize its unit sales, in such case this objective would help the company to succeed. Companies want to maximize unit sales. They believe that a higher sales volume will lead to a lower unit cost and higher long run profit. They set the lowest price, assuming the market is price sensitive. This is called as market penetration pricing. As a policy, this will really help the market and the marketing department to benefit in the initial stages of the company or the product. This would help the company to grow, expand in the market. The next objective of pricing policy is marketing skimming or market skimming. Many companies favor setting higher prices to skim the market. DuPont is a prime practitioner of market skimming prices. With each innovation, it estimates the highest price it can charge given the comparative benefits of its new product versus the available substitutes. This way, the market can easily capitalize in the initial stages so that it skims the prices through which the company can earn the required cost of production and the desired profits. The next objective of pricing policy is early cash recovery. Firms need cash as soon as there is sale because they have incurred and they have invested and they need to repay it now. Hence, firms set price which will create a mad rush for the product and recover cash early. They may also set a low price as a caution against uncertainty of the future. The last objective of pricing policy is satisfactory rate of return. Many companies try to set the price that will maximize current profits. To estimate the demand and costs associated with alternative prices, they choose the price that produces maximum current profit and cash flow or rate of return on investment. So with these objectives, if these objectives are followed well, the pricing policy would end up with success. But the pricing policy should not stop with the objectives. It has to consider certain other factors. So we discuss under the head considerations involved in formulating the pricing policy, which would make the pricing policy seem better. The considerations are as follows. First, competitive situation. While framing policy and while framing pricing policy, the competitive situation plays a major role. Pricing policy is to be set in the light of competitive situations in the market. We have to know whether the firm is facing perfect competition or imperfect competition. In perfect competition, the producers have no control over the price. Pricing policy has special significance only under imperfect competition. The second consideration is goal of profit in sales. The businessmen use the pricing device for the purpose of maximizing profits. They should also stimulate profitable combination sales. In any case, the sale should bring more profit to the firm. That is the end result that has to be considered. The third consideration is long-range welfare of the firm. Generally, businessmen are reluctant to charge a high price for the product because this might result in bringing more producers into the industry. In real life, firms want to prevent the entry of rivals. Pricing should take care of the long-run welfare of the company. Hence, the pricing policy should consider a long-range welfare of the firm while formulating their pricing policies. The next consideration in pricing policy should be flexibility. Pricing policies should be flexible enough to meet the changes in economic conditions of various customer industries. If a firm is selling its product in a highly competitive market, it will have little scope for pricing discretion. Prices hence should also be flexible to take care of cyclical variations that take place in the process of economic activities. The next consideration in pricing policy should be government policy. The government may prevent the firms from forming combinations to set a high price. Often, the government prefers to control the prices of essential commodities with a view to prevent the exploitation of consumers. The entry of the government into the pricing process tends to inject politics into price fixation, but yet it favors sometimes the consumers from the exploitation of companies. But if followed well, it is for the good of the company as well. The next consideration in pricing policy is overall goals of business. Pricing is not an end in itself, but a means to an end. The fundamental guides to pricing, therefore, are the firm's overall goals. The broadest of them is survival. On a more specific level, objectives relate to rate of growth, market share, maintenance of control, and finally, profit. The various objectives may not always be compatible. A pricing policy should never be established without consideration as to its impact on the other policies and practices. The next consideration in pricing policy is price sensitivity. The various factors which may generate insensitivity to price changes are variability in consumer behavior, variation in the effectiveness of marketing effort, nature of the product, importance of service after sales, etc. Businessmen often tend to exaggerate the importance of price sensitivity and ignore many identifiable factors which tend to minimize it. The next consideration while formulating pricing policy should be routinization of pricing. A firm may have to take many pricing decisions. If the data on demand and cost are highly conjectural, the firm has to rely on some mechanical formula. If a firm is selling its product in a highly competitive market, it will have little scope for price discretion. This will have the way for routine pricing. Hence, if the pricing policy is made considering all these factors thus discussed and with the objectives of pricing policy, for sure the pricing policy would give better results through its profits in the business. Thus, pricing policy. Thanks for listening.